Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. Hope you're doing well this morning. We're so close, we can almost touch the return of Premier League football, and it's a Manchester derby. Of course, we'll be building up towards that over the next couple of days. But this morning, we've got the latest Manchester United news for you. Could there be a return to Manchester United for Marcus Rashford and Andre Onana? We'll give you the detail on that. Mainoo still looking at a January exit, according to reports this morning. We've also got something coming out from The Athletic around the goalkeeper situation and who could be in goal at the weekend. Malacia is on the move to Turkey too. And I've been sent an incredible, what do you call it when winner stays on? Winner stays on, basically. It's probably one of the best ones I've seen, and I haven't really thought it through, so I'll do it live on here. Basically, it starts off with Cunha or Mbumo, and then you go which one you want, and then it goes to Mainoo, and then it goes to... I'll go through it with you in a bit anyway. Anyway, good morning. Hope you're all doing very well. The sun is shining for now, and hopefully it's shining on a more positive period for Manchester United. It's certainly about to get very interesting, isn't it? Next two games, Man City against Chelsea. And although they're only playing one game a week, Sunday Man City, Saturday Chelsea. So they'll feel very compact, those two games, when they come along. Also, the return of the chart show tonight. Get ready for that. I'll give you the detail on the 8 o'clock show. But let's fly into some of the news. I will talk about Rashford. There was a lot of noise last night about Rashford coming back to Man United next summer, how he looks so built now, scored a penalty for England. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. I will delve into the detail of that. Also, we've got this Mainoo story for you as well. But let's just start off with a little bit that's come out this morning, actually from The Athletic and from Laurie Whitwell around the Onana story. So effectively, Onana is somewhat in shock about Manchester United moving him on. And we've got a little bit more detail here around the goalkeeper situation, around who might be in goal at the weekend as well. There's someone, Le Mans, who's been in training since Monday. But look, this is what Laurie Whitwell is saying. And it's a little bit more meat on the bones, really, because some of it's not groundbreaking, but it does add clarity and verification on stuff. So Onana's going to fly out to Trabzon via Paris after Cameroon's costly World Cup defeat to Cape Verde. He's set to face Edison in Istanbul on Sunday, a rematch of last season's Etihad clash. Onana wished to discuss his salary with Manchester United since it was cut from 170k to 120k due to no Champions League football. He has people who depend on him in Cameroon, where he has opened up the Andre Onana Foundation. And although it is a straight loan, Onana is effectively ending his United career with this switch. An Old Trafford return after a season of Super League football is highly unlikely. Now, there are a few quotes flying around about Onana that aren't true. Something about it's a fake quote, so if you've seen it, just beware. I think we have responsibility to do responsible reporting and not cause pile-ons unfairly. I think there's a reason to pile on to Onana. He's not been a very good goalkeeper for us, but fake quotes aren't great. It's something about, people blame what's going on between the sticks, but there's a bigger picture going on. But it's a fake quote anyway. What's not fake is that Onana clearly came back wanting a pay rise. Look, we're allowed to pass judgment on this. Like, Onana gets all the best from most people, including me, on his future projects, and apparently he's going to earn big money in Turkey. So the people that are dependent on him in the Andre Onana Foundation will have money going in, and that's great. But Man United's not a charity. It isn't. And Onana wanting a pay rise is one of the biggest laughs we've all had in years, and we've had plenty of laughs at Manchester United. I mean, it's comedy. If he walked in to Omar Barada's office asking for a pay rise, I hope he walked in clown boots with makeup on and a flower that squirts water, because that's a clown move. In fact, he may as well come in with a big P on and a cape saying "Prat Man," because you know what, I find the reporting's brilliant on it because it gives us the clarity, but the detail is embarrassing. I mean, you know what? I'm sure there was plenty of people who Man United sacked last year whose mortgage was dependent on the wage they were earning out of Man United, and whose kids, clothing, food, presents were dependent on that wage. I couldn't give two shits about Onana needing a pay rise because people are depending on him, because we're not a charity. And I think it's great that he's found a move to go elsewhere. My point is here, obviously I care about any charity that people are doing, but my point is, he was asked to leave and didn't leave. He asked for a pay rise and didn't get one. If he'd have been in goal for Manchester United, he'd have earned 120k a week. So I sense a little bit of confusion around this, because if he'd started against Arsenal and Fulham and Burnley on 120k a week, he wouldn't have left. So the whole people are dependent on me and I want more money. Well, you didn't put a transfer request in when we said no. You stayed. You wanted to be the number one. So I don't really get that. I mean, obviously he did ask for a pay rise, and that's laughable. But the whole people are depending on me. Well, why didn't you leave then? Why didn't you put a transfer request in if you need to earn more money? You've got that more money now, but you only did that at the end of the window when you realised you lost your place. So, look, I'm not disputing the story. It just seems a little bit strange that he needed more money because people are depending on him. Absolutely fine, but you were going to stay if you'd been number one. The only reason you're leaving is because you're not. So, little bit of a weird one there. But look, clearly did ask for a pay rise, which is funny in itself. With regards to the wider situation at Manchester United, the essential situation here is that Le Mans did train at Carrington for the first time on Monday. And the big question is whether it's going to be Binder in goal or Le Mans in goal. And I'm sure we're going to have that conversation a lot over the next few weeks. And it really is important to that Amrim gets that right. I think Binder did get called up by Turkey but didn't play. Le Mans did not get called up for Belgium, which apparently was a surprise. I don't really care. I mean, there's a benefit to that. If he'd have been joined, if he's been training with Man United since Monday, I think there's very much a positive to that because he's at United. But look, I'm not going to sit here and predict what's going to happen with the goalkeeper on Sunday at the Etihad. I hope it's going to be Le Mans, but part of me thinks it probably will be Binder. But then at some point, you've got to make that decision. And I think if you go with Binder, as I said yesterday, it becomes the Casemiro effect where a player is coming in and taking your spot. And I think that's, very much... I don't know why that wasn't on. I don't know why that's doing that. Here we go again. Shut up. Sorry about that. I normally have it on mute. Bring all your fucking light now. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's I think it'd be very interesting to see who he goes with. But Le Mans has been there all week. Binder hasn't. It's a chance for Amrim to take a look at him. I think everybody's back training today. Well, not everybody. I think you can tell me about what's happening with Agate in Uruguay. But yeah, interesting. Just on Rashford, a few people saying what's going on with Rashford. So basically, last night, Rashford scored for England. I was watching the England game on That's Football. When he came on, he looks very different physically. I think the last couple of years with Rashford, he's been quite trim. Very trim. He looks bulkier. Now, I don't know whether that's the England kit. Remember the kit that made it, the Man United kit that made everyone look fat? I think it was last year's kit, wasn't it? So maybe it's the England kit. I don't know. But he nearly scored a good goal. Keeper made a good save. Obviously took the penalty well. The normal pile on social media, bring my star boy back to Man United and all this nonsense that you're always going to get. But, real talk, is there any realistic conversation about Marcus Rashford coming back to Manchester United? Well, certainly not in the short term. That story about Barcelona sending him back is a load of crap, and that's the worst thing that could happen for Rashford because there is no relationship with Amrim. So in the short term, no. Next summer, Marcus Rashford will still be a Manchester United player, and I believe he has a contract that runs till 2028. I'll just double check that for you, but I believe I am right on that. Here it is. I don't want to look at his stats. I want to look at his contract. Here we go. Marcus Rashford contract is 2028. And I don't know whether there's a +1 on that. So next summer he'll still have 2 years left on his contract, and there may be a +1 on that. And we know it's a very expensive contract. For Marcus Rashford to come back to Manchester United, just to humour those who want it to happen, I would imagine he'd have to have a bad season at Barcelona. Amrim would have to get sacked. He would have to come back. The new manager would have to be desperate to keep him, and bridges would have to be built with the club. Because it's not just Amorim and Rashford that have sort of burnt their bridges. It's the board and Rashford's people as well. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but if he has a good season at Barcelona, he won't be coming back. If Amorim stays as manager, he won't be coming back. And if we get a new manager that wants him, there'd still be bridges that need to be built with the club. So, look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but it is somewhat amateur and childish to be saying bring him back when you even the most simple of simpletons knows that nothing can happen until next June anyway, which is virtually a year. So I just think it's a waste. It's like what I was saying on the show last night. What's the biggest barrier to Amorim's success? Most of you did say the Glazers and Ineos. I said fans, because I just think we just have this very vocalised cult of negativity around the club that just constantly, grows off the media and stuff like that. And I think that, bring Rashford back movement is just idiotic because it's September and he can't come back till June anyway. So a lot of things are going to happen between then. But we should get used to it because every goal he scores for Barcelona, every good performance he has for England, people will say bring him back, bring him back. But if you know anything about Amorim, he ain't bringing anybody back. And I don't think there's any desire from Rashford to come back either. So he's got his dream move at Barcelona at the moment. So look, I want him to do well. I do. I've said it loads of times. I want him to do well. He definitely looks different. Like, he definitely looks a bit bulkier. Maybe he's done that because La Liga is not as quick as the Premier League, so he doesn't need to be as trim. Maybe he's gone for a little bit of bulk in a league where he can get away with that. I think that's quite a clever thing. But look, I hope he does well
because
ultimately it's better for everybody if they move on, I think. Talking about moving on, let's Monday morning headline, beginning of the end for Pep at City. I would love that to be the case, Nectario, but it's going to be a hell of a result for us to go and win at the Etihad. I know we did it last year, and I know we've had some good results at the Etihad, but we should never take it for granted that it's a difficult place to go and win for anybody, and they have lost 2 of their first 3. So, I mean, I've not even thought about the preview yet. I've not even started thinking about my lineup yet, but it's a tough game. Mainoo, this is a bit of breaking news coming out this morning. Believe the source or not, I suppose it's logical in a way. Kobbie Mainoo will seek to resurrect a loan move to Napoli in January if he does not get more game time at Old Trafford. He wants to be in the England squad for the World Cup. The source of this is ESPN. I think the interesting thing about this story this morning is twofold. One, the Napoli thing. Essentially, Napoli was the only real option in the room that was viable to Mainoo in the last week of the window. United were never going to entertain anything Premier League based, and the belief was that Napoli was the best place because of relationships through McTominay and Garnacho, and obviously Garnacho, there were talks with Garnacho and obviously Rasmus. So I think Mainoo's side quite fancied it. I think Napoli quite fancied it. Man United were always resolute that it wasn't going to happen, but it looks like that was the option that was there, that the player was open to and Napoli were open to. Obviously United shut it down. So I suppose there's an element of common sense that if Mainoo wasn't playing between now and Christmas, then Napoli would be an option that would maybe be pushed. So look, I don't dispute the validity of the fact that maybe Mainoo to Napoli in January could happen and that he wants to play in the World Cup. But again, where I would jump in on this and say, well, whoa, let's not. It's like talking about signing a player in January, isn't it? Like, it's a long way off. There's a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of results there. And as Robert McCormack would say, Amorim needs to start winning. If he doesn't win between now and Christmas, I don't think the big story is going to be Mainoo to Napoli. I think it's going to be about the manager. So these sort of stories sort of like, I take them with a pinch of salt, not because I don't think they're true, but because I think there are other things that are going to happen before that. And essentially, what we're going to see is a period of time which is effectively 4 months before that January transfer window. Now, if Mainoo doesn't get picked much and isn't in an England squad, then desperately he's going to be saying, I want to go to Napoli, I've got 1 international break to get in March, ahead of the World Cup, I want to go to Napoli. Of course, I understand that. But my theory is we've only got 4 midfielders. Casemiro is not reliable. Agate is, our 4th best midfielder. I'd say Mainoo's 3rd at the moment. You're telling me that our 3rd best midfielder is not going to get opportunities between now and Christmas. He may even get opportunities to come into the first team and therefore be in the England squad before the January transfer window. The most relaxing thing for me is that Kobbie Mainoo is a Man United player. The transfer window is closed. It was a bit nervy for the last few days, but the window is closed. He's here. There are 2 international breaks between now and January. There's only 1 between January and the World Cup. His time is now. If he wants to go to the World Cup, Napoli ain't going to help him in January. It's going to be because all he's got is March, and that's it. And that might be too late. Looking at England last night, they're starting to build rhythm. Look at what Elliot Anderson's done. I mean, that's a player many of you might want at Manchester United. So I don't look at the Mainoo exit stories now as anything other than a waste of space to us United fans, because, as I say, it's a long way till January. We've only got 4 midfielders. Mainoo has to be knocking on the door of starting anyway. And there are so many games to be played before January, and there are 2 international breaks. So if he's working hard in training like he says he is, I'm sure he's going to get the opportunity. If we're loaning Mainoo to Napoli in January, something's gone very wrong between now and Christmas. That's all I'm going to say. I just think the opportunities are going to be there. And ultimately, you can say this to the player, you're going to get your opportunities between now and January. I wouldn't be thinking about Napoli. I'd be thinking about Man City. I'd be thinking about Chelsea. I'd be thinking about the next 3 months and grabbing the opportunity in front of you. Because if you want to be in the England squad, there's 2 England squads to get into in the next 2 months. Get in the Man United side, do well, get in the England squad. Put it like this. If Mainoo plays against Man City and Chelsea and does well, he'll be in the next England squad. Guaranteed. Jordan Henderson's in the fucking England squad, in the midfield. I mean, come on. If I was a midfielder playing for bloody Wrexham, I'd fancy my chances getting in ahead of him. So all he's got to do, get in the team, do well, and we're absolutely sorted on that one. As Savage said, Mainoo needs to believe in himself. He has the talent. He just needs the fitness. He just got to back himself, get in that team. Simple as that. Let me have a look at some of your comments. Then I'm going to talk about Malacia. Anyone who does the I want talk should be sold, says Keel Robinson. I've got to put my hands up and say, I don't know how true it is. We must never take stories in the press as being totally gospel. But I don't actually understand the... If I was Mainoo and the people around him, I'd cut back on the club and on the World Cup. I don't know what you think, but I'm allowed to have my opinion. I would cut back on the World Cup stuff because Liverpool and Man United fans don't actually give a shit about England. In the main, we don't. We put our club before our country. So look at what Luke Shaw did, putting the club, putting England before Manchester United. Did him irreparable damage, and he openly did it. All we seem to be hearing around the Mainoo move is wants to play in the World Cup. Now that could be the press saying Mainoo wants to leave because he wants to play in the World Cup. Maybe Mainoo wants to play first team football for somebody, But I don't really want to hear about the World Cup because I want to play in the World Cup for England. You're not going to win it. And Man United pay your wages. And Man United's my priority over England. So I'm not really bothered about the World Cup dream, to be honest. I wasn't really bothered about Luke Shaw's Euros obsession. I'm bothered about Manchester United. So this World Cup thing doesn't really wash. It wouldn't wash with me if, Bruno had an injury and was desperate to get back for the World Cup. I'd be like, well, you should be desperate to get back to Manchester United. So, look, it's the same with everybody. But the World Cup thing, I think, is just a little bit... I couldn't give a shit about the World Cup, Let's play well for Man United, then you get called up for England and you'll get the World Cup anyway. Jacob says, how bad would it look if Glinios sacked Ruben, backslid on the Rashford decision and bring him back? Would look very spineless. What's your thoughts? Look, I don't think that scenario is impossible. I actually said in the summer, as a hot take, it wouldn't surprise me if Rashford outlasted Amrin. And a few people were like, well, he's for sale. That's not going to happen. Well, he didn't get sold, did he? He got loaned. So he could come back next year and Amrin might not be here. It's a hot take I don't want to happen, but it could be true. So my thoughts on that, Jacob, are is Man United a football club or is it a business? If there was a business case to bring Rashford back under a manager that wanted him, I'm pretty confident that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Joel Glazer would do it. We'll have to just wait and see. Patrick Lynch says it's tough for Le Mans. Being goalkeeper for United is already pressurised, but because of the poor performance from Onana and Bienda, it will be magnified. He's going to have to be very, very strong mentally, Patrick, that's for sure. How is Onana in shock? Is he the only one that doesn't see how poor he's been? We can't have him back, says Martin Saunders. Look, in relation to Onana returning, I think every player that's on loan, you've got to realise that they can come back. We've seen it before with Pereira. We've seen it with Donny van der Beek. These players do come back and can come back. Jadon Sancho obviously will be out of contract next summer unless we renew it, so he could come back. Rasmus Højlund could come back as well. Very good point. Someone just said in the chat. So these players are on loan. I think the Onana return is, I mean, I said it in The Athletic today, but I would say it myself, next to impossible. I think there are certain players that it's next to impossible to come back. I mean, I don't necessarily think there's any chance of Rashford coming back, but you could see a scenario, however unlikely. I think with Onana and Sancho, just it would never happen. For different reasons, but with Onana, like, it will never happen because how does it happen? Like, you come back next summer, you go in goal, and everyone just thinks you're a prat, like even the media. So I just don't see a way back for Onana at Manchester United. I think that ship has well and truly sailed. Euban has gifted 20 memberships. What a legend this Wednesday morning. Get a W in the chat for Euban. If you got one, say thank you. That's great. Thank you, Euban. Tyrus has just gifted a membership as well. Thank you very much for that. Tony says, hello, Mark from Sarawak. Great to know you are well. Thank you very much, pal. Hope you're all well as well. Let us know where you're watching from this morning. I just need to speak to you about Malacia, don't I, as well? So Malacia has... Sarawak is in Malaysia. I had to Google that myself. It's a Malaysian state. There we go. Big Man United support in Malaysia. Bit of geography there. I didn't know it myself. Apologies. So, yes, Malacia is heading out on loan. I don't know what's wrong with my throat this morning. I feel like I've got something in my throat. It's not the fly. If you know, you know. I did say at the end of the stream last night, that fly won't survive 3 minutes. Let's just say I wasn't wrong. My slipper got a flatmate. We'll leave it there. So, Onana, we've spoken about. Malacia, let me speak to you about him. So, Ayupspor. Is that a place in Leeds? Ayupspor have reached an agreement with Manchester United for the... I've gone all Leeds now. Ayupspor have reached an agreement with Manchester United for the loan transfer of Turel Malacia. Decision now up to Malacia. This came in last night, so another Turkish move. In relation to Malacia, I don't care. I've said this before. We only paid £15 million for him. He's on very, very small wages. I mean, he's been injured for what feels like 5 years. I know he was put in the bomb squad. I don't really understand why. But, I mean, look, my opinion on Malacia is I would never do... I mean, look how late we're talking about it in the video. We're half an hour in. It's just a meh, you know? And that's not in an offensive way. I just think with Malacia, you know, he ain't very good, is he? And my only hope with him is that he can go and play football elsewhere and do well. As simple as that. I don't even know how long he's got left on his contract. He was good mates with Rashford, apparently. And maybe that's why Amrin put him in the bomb squad. But all I'm saying is I don't really know of anything that Malacia has ever done wrong apart from play shit and be injured. So obviously you need to move him on. But I think putting him in the bomb squad almost inflates his importance. I just think, you know, find a club, move on, and goodbye. You know, all the best, basically. Fish and Chips says it's not the bum squad, mate. It's the bomb squad. I'm not saying bum in a posh way. It's not the bomb squad. It's the bomb squad. Mojo's gifted 20 memberships. Who would have thought you'd get 40 memberships gifted on a 10 a.m. show? This is why you need to tune into every show. Get your badge in. Thank you very much to Mojo. Hope you're doing well. Big Z says, have you seen the movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum? I have. It's a bit weird. Little bit weird. Okay, I've got a few more things I want to talk about, but I'm very excited about this. I got sent this by one of you, actually. Big shout out to Stuart, who sent us this. He's got one for That's Football later on as well. But basically, it was one of these winner takes it all. And I thought, you know what, we'll bring this in. It's an international break. We'll bring this in and we'll give it a go. So basically, I get given 2 players and I have to choose, like, winner stays on. So maybe a bit controversial here. I've got the list. I've not really looked at it and given it any thought. And you're not allowed to give it a lot of thought when you go through it. So we start off, Cunha or Mbeumo? Cunha. Cunha or Mainoo? Cunha. Cunha or Bruno? Bruno. Bruno or Carrick? Carrick. Carrick or Keane? Easy, Keane. Keane or Pogba? Keane. Keane or Scholes? Keane. Keane or Rooney? Keane. Keane or Giggs? Keane. Keane or Beckham? Beckham. Beckham or Ronaldo? Beckham. I know the chat's going to go mad there. I know it is. But you know what it is? I didn't do it on pure ability. I did it on what they mean to me as Man United greats. That's what I did it on. So on ability, I'd probably do it very differently. But I did it based on Man United greats to me. And that's why I went Carrick over Bruno. That's why I went Keane over Scholes, Giggs. That's why I went Beckham over Keane and Beckham over Ronaldo. So it's not bias. It can't be bias, Rip. It's personal opinion. And I've been supporting Man United a lot more than many of you. Like, a lot of you, understandably, would have been rammed right up your mum's chuff when people like Beckham and Keane and everyone else was playing. I've seen the entirety of the Premier League. So Beckham and Keane, to me, are your Ronaldo and Rooney's. So I get it. But I've seen them all play. And they were my heroes growing up. So I hold them in very, very high esteem. Obviously, I know Ronaldo's a better player than David Beckham, but I'm holding them up as Man United players. I'm not interested in what they've done at Real Madrid or being one of the world's greatest players. It's what they mean to me as a United great. So it's mine, and you can do yours. LJB says you're pissing me off. Well, mate, I don't care because it's my opinion and I'm not changing it. I just gave it there. Simple as that. I really do think some of you don't understand that other people can have different opinions to you based on their own experiences. You really need to grow up. If you want to go and do your own, get yourself on TikTok with that list. I'll put it in I'll tell you what I'll do. Because I'm a nice guy and I understand community and different opinion, what I'm going to do is, right, because some people are getting really mad in the chat, I'm going to copy and paste the list that Stuart sent, yeah? I'll put it as a pinned chat in the video description. Then you can get your phone and go on TikTok and record your own either or, and then it's there, you know? And I think it will make you feel better because it's my opinion and it's your opinion. And I did it based on who I believe to me are United greats. Winner stays on. Thank you very much. But I will do that for you instead of throwing abuse at you for your opinion. How can people get mad? I don't know, Pam. I genuinely don't know. Anyway, get your comments in. We've still got plenty to discuss this morning. When's the preview for Man City? It'll be up. It'll be in the next 40. I've got to do the chart show first. That's got to go first because it's got more of the story. And then the preview will be up in the next 48 hours. Talking of which, I saw this on the United Stand this morning on the Twitter account at United Stand MUFC. I think that's right. Or is it? I don't know what United Stand Twitter is. At United Stand MUFC, yeah. So how many points do you think Man United are going to get from our next 5 games? So we've got Man City away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Sunderland at home, Liverpool away. Why is it at every bloody 5 games we have at the moment are really difficult? Like, remember at the start of the season, it was Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley, Man City, Chelsea. And all right, we haven't played Man City and Chelsea yet, but then we go on to our next 5 and you've got Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool in it. It's not... This is why for me, until we hit game 10, I think this is going to be, you know, a roller coaster. But look, Man City away, Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Sunderland at home, Liverpool away. Fucking hell, that's tough. I thought we had Liverpool at home. Look, the 3 away games are difficult. I think we've got to beat Brentford away and we've got to beat Sunderland at home, so that's 6. Liverpool away, I don't think we'll get anything. City away, point. I'd like to say 10 from 15, but that's very optimistic when you've got Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool there. It could be 6, lose to Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool. I think we might end up with 7. 2 wins and a draw. 2 losses, 2 wins and a draw. Which is not terrible when you look at who you're playing. And I guarantee if we've got 7 points from 15, we'll still be in and around touching distance for 5th. And we'll have played all the top 4. I look at it as a marathon, not a sprint, basically. Obviously, I know if we lose to Man City at the weekend, Amrim out will start incredibly. Chelsea the same, Liverpool the same. But actually, after these next 5 games, we'll have played the top 4 teams in the country. So if we're within a few points of 5th, I'll be very, very happy. And then I think that's when our season starts. So, yeah, it's a tough 5 games, isn't it? Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea in the next 5. I'm going to go with 7. But I think if we beat Chelsea, it could be 10. But, yeah. Dazzo says, Rashford will be back. Barcelona have got a tight budget and he's still shooting for everywhere and been poor. Says Dazzo. I think the thing about Rashford coming back is, even if Amrim is here, he could still come back because Barcelona, like you say, might send him back. He's on very, very big wages, and if he did come back and Amrim was still here, I don't know where we could move him off next. We're almost moving him off each year just to cover the wages. But I think there's a very high chance he'll be in the World Cup squad. So that, surely inflates it as well. Next summer transfer window, I don't want to talk about transfers, but the next summer transfer window is going to be very, very different to this. For the simple reason, we have got such a short transfer window next year. You're going to end the season. It's going to be all about the World Cup buzz. And then the World Cup's going to go on till the middle of July. And then all the teams that go late in the World Cup, and I think a lot of teams will go late in the World Cup because there's so much crap in the World Cup this year, they're going to go on their holiday. So most players aren't really going to be back until sort of back end of July. And then you're going to be starting the season middle of August. So I think it's going to be very difficult to do business next summer in the way that United are already projecting, because the World Cup is so big. So many teams are going to be in it. This is what I mean when people start talking about next summer, I think it's going to be really difficult because there's going to be so many teams that are playing in that tournament, and players will be saying I'm focused on this. Look, funnily enough, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't been keeping a mad eye on what's promoted and what's not, but I think Cameroon might be missing out on the World Cup, which makes you think about Baleba. But then that makes me think, well, okay, you might have a clear path at Baleba because he's not playing in the World Cup. But does that not catch the eye of Liverpool or Arsenal or Chelsea or Real Madrid as well, that there's a player they can go for that's not playing in the World Cup as well? So I think it's going to be a very challenging summer transfer window, and very, very difficult to this one, which basically we've had a whole window of activity because there's not really been anything going on apart from the Club World Cup. So, yeah. Would you, Mark, World Cup in the US, a bloody advertisement nightmare, says the little Primark. I think 6, and the only teams we beat are City and Liverpool, says Gaz. So we're not going to beat Sunderland or Brentford. Okay. I mean, that would be the most United thing ever. Beat Liverpool and Man City away, and then lose to Sunderland and Chelsea at home. I think I'd be pulling my hair out at that, really. Let me just go through some of your comments. Brian C says, I can see a mid-July World Cup bump directly into panic buys. It'd be very interesting what United do with the tour next year as well, because the United States is going to be awash with football for the World Cup. Would you then send a weak United squad out to the States to do a tour? I think they'll be all footballed out by then. So I just wonder whether we might go. I don't know what we'll do next year, really. I think the World Cup is going to is just going to be what it's all about. Sugar says, what the fuck? I watch Rashford. He is not shooting at Barcelona. It's a lie. Some of our fans don't deserve football. You've upset him. Where have you been the last 5 years? We struggle with teams who are mid-table or low in the league. We play very well against the top teams, says Sabi. Any updates on Cunha or Mount? Hope you're well, says Rayan. Well, yeah, I was literally on the list to talk about injuries. So Man United are back today with the vast majority of the squad. What I do know is, let me just have a look at fixtures, because obviously some people are still playing tonight. Some people played last night. So, yeah, look, England players, I don't think England have got any. Uruguay played last night as well, but it was probably a silly kickoff time, which is obviously Agate. I don't know whether Leon played for Paraguay or not. I'm not too sure. I don't know whether he even got called up, but he wouldn't be playing anyway. So I think most people have played now. There is no other international games. Everybody has played. Obviously, some people have got to get on planes. I know De Ligt's back today because the Netherlands played, I think, on Sunday or Monday. So effectively, you're going to see a trickle of players coming back to Manchester United today and tomorrow ahead of the game against Manchester City. Casemiro was back anyway because he was suspended for the Brazil game last night. As we know, Mainoo didn't get called up. Maguire didn't get called up. So, yeah, look, hopefully everybody returns okay. I mean, look, I saw something about Mamouche bruising his knee or something like that. So, that's for Man City. I think from all reports we're getting, we've not picked up any injuries over the international break as far as we're concerned, but as far as we're aware. But obviously, Cunha and Mount, as Ryan quite rightly communicates, were injured in our last game. So what is the latest on them? I think the next 48 hours will add a lot of clarity, because when the team's back properly training ahead of the game, this is where you're going to get clarity on their availability. What we do know is, and we reported this last week, is that Mount is not expected to be back until the Chelsea game, which is a week on Saturday. And that Cunha, whilst not as bad, there was hope that he could be involved on Sunday, but now there are other suggestions that that won't be the case. So I think that Mount was more precautionary. Cunha had the potential to be 5 or 6 weeks with a hamstring thing, but it's not as bad. So you've sort of got this scenario now where it's like, well, are we going to get a shock where one of them are available for Sunday? I don't think we will. And if they're not available for Sunday, will they be back for Chelsea, which is on the following Saturday, which is not far away? I suspect neither starts on Sunday. Just because of the way Man United work. We're so health and safety focused when it comes to injuries now that we don't seem to take risks on players anyway. I think a few years ago, maybe one of these players could start and you take the risk, but we just don't seem to do that. It's computer says no, isn't it? So I don't think they're going to be involved. Hopefully, they're both back for the Chelsea game. And I say that because we don't really have a lot of leeway this season. Like, we're out the Carabao Cup. We're not in Europe. So Premier League points and Premier League games become cup finals in themselves. And we have to treat every game like that. And look, we haven't in the past. let's put our hands up. We don't treat every Premier League game like a cup final. We don't. We go, oh, we've got this. We've got Brentford and then we've got, Roma in the Champions League or whatever. So we've got to treat every game like a cup final. And part of that is making sure that your best team plays in every game. So the fitness department at Man United need to do their bloody job. And we can't just be going, we'd rather take a precaution and keep him out for the next 3 weeks. If I'm Amorim, I'm saying, hold on a minute. If you want to keep your fucking job, stop telling me about precautions and, taking it steady. I need these players. These points are really important and these players are really important. I need these players. So stop thinking about precautionary and, best case scenario. I want these players. So how do I get these players back? And don't tell me they're fine, but, we'd rather give them another week. If they're fine, they're fine, But the balance of that is, if they're injured, you can't use them. And I think we will find out in the next 24 to 48 hours. But don't expect Amorim to say in his press conference on Friday that they're both out. I just think that the chances of them both starting are going to be minimal. But the positive thing is neither injury has been described as long-term. So, with Mainoo, sorry, I keep saying Mainoo, with Mount, he tends to get injured and you don't see him for 3 months. It's not sounding like that. And with Cunha, although he was clutching his hamstring, it's not like, I saw the other day that Delap is out for 3 months with his. So, and a similar thing happened, you just pull up. So in some ways, we're fortunate. I think we have to go all in for Elliot Anderson. He's going to be special, says Callum. I think in relation to thank you very much for your super chat this morning, Callum. Get your comments in for the last few minutes of the show. I think in relation to Elliot Anderson, I sort of look at Newcastle and go, isn't PSR a bitch? Because 22 years of age, looks like one of the best up-and-coming midfielders in the league. It's not like Newcastle don't have a good midfield. He probably wouldn't be starting. So for him, it's probably a really good career move to go to Forest. But he does look very good. He looks very good. I watched him yesterday playing with Declan Rice, and he looks really good. He was at Newcastle and they sold him to Forest. So, look, he'll be on the move somewhere. I suppose the positive is Anderson, Wharton, Baleba, Yulmlen. There are Stiller. There are options out there, and there will be more options if we scout well. It's a shame we didn't get one in the summer, but at some point, obviously, we have to appreciate and accept that window is closed. So, yeah, look, I like the look of him. Will Man United look at that? I'm always of the opinion, like the striker market this summer, we benefited massively the fact that there was a lot of strikers. We landed on Šeško after looking at another 4 or 5, and we still got a good striker. And that was really positive, because as much as I would have liked Osimhen or Gyökeres, we still ended up with a good striker because there was a lot of good strikers. I look at the midfield market and I think it's already shaping up that way. And that's before any breakouts. There's a couple of players in the Bundesliga that I think could be very interesting around March next year if they continue to grow. There's a lad at St. Pauli, Fajita, who I really want to look at again. He looks good. There's a lad at Leipzig who they've only just brought in, and he only had a cameo against Bayern, but I think he might come through as well. And no doubt there'll be others around Europe. So if that midfield market expands, you can't miss. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. You can't miss. If Baleba's the only decent midfielder and 4 or 5 teams want him, it becomes problematic. But look, Callum, I agree. I think Elliot Anderson's another player that you've got to add into the list. And I think the ideal for Manchester United is to have English players. We're a bit short on English players or British players, and you do need to be careful about the homegrown rule. So, Wharton, Anderson would be very attractive players, but there's a long way to go. And I hope that there are a lot of other options as well. Liam Vernon says, people will say after watching England bring back Rashford, he's a brilliant player. That's player FC working into effect. England is not Man United, says Liam. Look, I quite enjoyed watching England last night, which is a rarity, but you know what my thoughts are on international football. It's slow, and it bears no resemblance to the realities of club football. Brian says, Fujita looked average for Japan last night. I rest my case. As I said, I've only seen him play once for St. Pauli. He might be an absolute bag of shit. He's only just come into the Bundesliga. So there will be players in other leagues as well. Draw with Liverpool, pump the rest, says Keel Robinson. Thank you very much to Rayan. I appreciate that as well. And we've done that from Keel as well. Where are all the English strikers, says John? I don't know. I was having this chat last night. Like, England haven't produced a world-class goalkeeper since David Seaman. In 1995, the list of English strikers was incredible. You had Teddy Sheringham, Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, Chris Sutton, Ian Wright, Les Ferdinand, Robbie Fowler, Stan Collymore, Chris Armstrong. I think Peter Beardsley was still playing as well. I mean, there was just so many English strikers, and it just, I suppose it just goes in swings and roundabouts. We seem to have loads and loads and loads of number 10s at the moment, don't we? Cole Palmer, Gibbs White, Morgan Rogers, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham. There's just loads and loads, and there's a lot of wide players as well. Rashford, Gordon, Saka, Eze, Madueke. Yeah, but there's not loads of strikers. I don't know why. Maybe something's happening in youth football that people don't want to play up front. When I was growing up, everyone wanted to play up front. So, but yeah, if we're going to buy next summer, we need to be scouting really, really well, and we need to be ahead of the game, because I think next summer market's going to be very condensed. Because of the World Cup, of course. Anyhow, let me just take a few more comments from you. Dwight York wasn't English. Would you go for Livramento? I like Livramento, Liam, but obviously he's at Newcastle, so I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think United tried to get Belieber earlier, as getting player Wharton Stiller is hard, as both are very demanding for other club, especially Stiller, says Jan. I think Belieber will be very difficult to get as well. Belieber is the real thing, says the Rogue. SM says, so many gifted memberships and I didn't get one. I've got some memberships to gift tonight, so tune in at the 8 o'clock show tonight. Morgan Rogers looks the best of the bunch to me, says John. I like Rogers. Very good player. I'm very surprised Villa have had a bad start to the season, actually. He's a very, very good player. He'll be on the move soon. We don't need a number 10, though, do we? We really shouldn't need a number 10 for a long, long time. Nosebag says, moaning about bringing the players back, but then you're moaning when the physios don't look after the squad. Mate, I think you make a good point, but we're not in Europe. We're not in the Carabao Cup. We've basically only got Premier League games between now and Christmas. That is unique and scary. We've only got Premier League games between now and Christmas. So every Premier League game becomes a cup final. And we need to be putting our best team out in it. We can't have a bloody injury crisis when we're not playing many games. You know, every game. I said this, like, maybe the international break has changed things a little bit, but we need to be scrutinising every aspect of every game between weekends. I don't think we've ever had that opportunity before, because you go from one game to another. But we need to be scrutinising every area of every game in the midweek to the finest detail, because we need to be treating every game like a bloody cup final. And, if there's a half an hour where, the left wing back's done this and they've scored a goal, we need to be scrutinising that. And the club do as well. We need to be getting the best team out we can, week in, week out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm looking forward to it. And I think the chart show is going to play massively into that, because obviously, you're going to see how the chart show is going to run. Did I not mention Ian Wright? I think I did say Ian Wright, the Bitter Moose, but if I didn't, that's another one. What's your lineup against City? You'll have to wait for the preview. You have to. Do you think Mainoo will start against City? No, I think he'll go with Bruno and Casemiro, unless. Well, I'll give you a spoiler. If Mount and Cunha can't play, Bruno's got to play as a 10. And Mainoo's got to play with Casemiro. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. We're back at 2. I'm back at 8. Got lots to get involved in. And make sure you smash a like. And don't forget, it's exciting because the chart show's coming back. Thanks, everyone, where you've been watching from, live or not. Leave your comments. And I will pin the winner stays on thing because obviously that caused some disagreements. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.